Here I am again, Leon C, aka Morpheus. And again, like I promised, this is part 2. I'm going hard on this. Some of you in this generation know what I'm talking about when I say I'm getting ready to go hard. I am going hard on this because the growth of America is important to me. And to see a few of you succeed, if not all, is important to me. We are at a lackadaisical mindset, and I am your protector. I am your guidance. I am your light to give you the weapon of knowledge, which is the information of truth that you may not otherwise be getting in this form and fashion in Red Pill. Now I'm going to get back on to the other emailers and those who have called in. Because the more I hatchet at this, the more I give you this red pill, my American people. No, I don't want you to be like Morpheus. I want you to be the Neo that you are inside, where you can fly in freedom and succeed beyond the deceptions. Whereas the evolution of humanity can be what it's supposed to be, away from the machines and your chemical lifestyle that has been deceiving you your entire life. So if you misconstrued and misunderstand my intentions and my plans, I am telling you my intentions and my plans that you are my valuable asset. To Morpheus, you are important. To Morpheus, myself, you are the subject. So if you misunderstand, that just means you need a little time to understand what I'm saying. Getting on to the next subject here. A gentleman called in and asked me, he said the influence of music is out of whack today. He said it is most times disturbing, and the music isn't what it used to be. Now, as Morpheus, you know I'm going to give you the red pill, and if you have watched this audio log or audio from the first one, I don't need to give you another red pill, because that red pill I gave you is going to last all through this series. But for you who just now listening to this audio, you need to go back to part 1. All right, to get your red pill, and then come back to here so you can catch up. I'm going to tell you now, music is not the fault as what you may think it is. Yes, it's no good. Yes, the music is only talking about, let's go ahead and do our donkey dunk, as I call it. Yes, that's Morpheus's word. I call it donkey dunking. All right. It's not about getting her number anymore, of course. At most times when you are around a group of young kids, the music that they listen to is harsh. It is, as you would say, filthy. It is a hip, empty, sort of repetitive mind-washing conundrum that is programmed for your children. I like a famous rapper named Snoop Dogg, and I give him all respect. Snoop Dogg was at least real. Snoop Dogg, when he rapped, you understood what he was saying. It wasn't repetitive. It had beat to it. It had function to it. It had fluidity to it, to the point where if you decided to dance off of it, you was dancing for a reason. Okay? It had subject. It had value. It had meaning. But he said something in one of his interviews that some of you probably looked at. If not, you need to look at one of Snoop Dogg's interviews. I can't get the title of it. But he was talking about the new rappers today and how it's always a rebuttal. It's always a repetitive thing. I'm not a good rapper because I'm Morpheus, and it would seem very funny if I tried to rap. I can, to be honest with you. If I wanted to go that route, instead of making these audios to uplift you and these killer red pills, I would do it. But this right now is more important than just music. All right. But to give you an example, if I can do it, is something like, how can I put it? Let's talk about my hat for a moment. Let's just say something. I put my hat on my lip. I put my hat on my hip. I put my hat on my hip. I put my hat on my hip. And my hand on my face. I put my hand on my face. I put my hand on my face. I put my hand on my face. Or something like this. A bitty da bitty da bitty da bit. And number the double the double the da. Y'all get my idea? Repetitive. Repetitive, senseless, empty, pointless. Only a beat in the back to make it sound good, so it can be candy in the ears of who? Your young kids of this generation. Power has been music for many years. But the reason why I say it's not music's fault or the artist's fault. In the genetics of a specific person and their upbringing came a person who have produced it. For example, and I don't want to go too far in it because I really don't like wasting time, because as a teacher and a guidance, sometimes it can be quite difficult for those who don't quite understand. When you need to overstand it by now and add more to it, because I'm pretty sure this is an apparatus that extends further than what I am saying. But too many people haven't even gotten this far. An apple that falls from a tree is commonly known because of the tree itself. If you have several apples underneath a tree, common sense would tell even a dumb deaf child standing by the tree that this tree most likely is an apple tree. This is the apple tree that have created this apple. Do you understand, America? So obviously, with the growing generation of years of 14-year-old kids versus 19, or those who are DJing at the age of 20, okay? Or you going to a skating rink somewhere and all there is that repetitive nonsense rap music that your 3-year-old is, yes, your 3-year-old or your 8-year-old is skating or dancing to. You understand? Who created that to begin with? Who allowed it to go so far? You understand? Not to say that everything that the parents do, everything that the previous generation do, that the child is going to be obedient. The child is going to listen. For some of you who believe in the Bible, okay, it was considered as wise words, not a guidance of life. If you really want to be realistic, it was considered as ideas to be weary of should you encounter a situation as an option. But there's not ever any one particular rule that applies to every situation. Did you get what I said? If you don't understand it, then you need to rewind it so you can play it slowly. All right? But however, it said this: raise up a child in the way that they should go. Raise a child up in the way that they should go. There are things that a lot of adults are doing today that families have programmed in the mind of their kids. There are so many teenagers that are going through things because of what their parents are going through. There are so many lifestyles that have spawned out of control today, even with the adults, because of the implementation of rules, protocols, and somewhat religious superstition that parents have pretty much drilled into the child's head by dragging them to the church, dragging them to the mosque, dragging them to the cathedral, grabbing them, just dragging them there, even if the child wanted to stay home and sleep a little longer and watch Nickelodeon early in the morning. You understand? That was by force. So they forced upon their children a way that their parents thought that they should go. All right. So when you are looking at 120 of these kids around in this group where you have this 19-year-old DJ, or these, pretty much none of them is older than 20 years old, listening to this rap music that you parents allow, or because you didn't tell them that it's no good, or you did not do anything to vet it off. Okay. It's not the rapper's problem. It's not the music itself. It is because we allow our children to be about poison. Let me ask you a question for a moment. Now let's step back. Let's take one step back. Let's talk about viruses. Let's talk about diseases. Let's talk about being in a bar where there is drug and drink. On a common basis, most people know that if their room is full of viruses and sickness, you're not going to let your child go in there. You're going to pull the child back. All right. Or you could say for a child and the room is full of strangers that are known to take kids and do some trafficking and send them somewhere else, and the parents are aware of it. Okay, most likely you're not going to allow your child to go in there because of the possible dangers. So since you are aware of that and have the power to pull them out of that room or to prevent them from entering any type of bad situation, or don't go to that school because it's known to be violent, so forth and so on, okay, then it is no excuse for us to allow our kids to be influenced by either negative television or negative music. Why is it allowed? Okay, because you would know that most parents aren't aware or trying to be aware of the specific facts of the influence of music, where they particularly think that it's harmless, that they particularly think that it doesn't have an effect on the child's mind. Okay, so the fruit that falls from the tree, it's not actually just the music itself. Most times your children are going to be targeted whether you like it or not. They're going to be targeted as consumers. They're going to be targeted to be somebody's employees. All right. They're going to be targeted to work in somebody's yard to cut their grass. They're going to be targeted to be somebody who's going to buy somebody else's product. They're going to be targeted to be taken for whatever that they have. That's just the way that mankind is today. That is a common sense. So therefore, yes, the music is wrong. Yes, the artists aren't really concerned about what your child is digesting in their unconscious mind. It is the parents' job to do that. Unfortunately, you are seeing my caller. It's not the music that needs to work. It is the parents who are lackadaisical and turning their back on the next generation, who at the age of 14 is only thinking about donkey dunking and not spending time with the quality of what this girl really is, or in reverse, not what this man really is, because all she thinks is because every teenager is having a child, she wants to have a child herself, while the parent is working it's not a 9-to-5 job anymore, America. Now it's a 9-to-7 job. It used to be a 9-to-5 job when we had sensible humanity, when we had a sensible society and corporations, but now it's a 9-to-7 job just to survive. And it only gets worse. The more people don't think and stand up for their liberation, the more you people allow yourself to be tethered and pulled away from what nature is. Okay, that 9-to-5s, as it is now a 9-to-7, now it's going to start turning into a 9-to-8 job, where you would never get home to your kids, and your kids are always going to be in the company of being in the indoctrination camps that I call it, and it's basic. That's been in my other videos. It's always in my other audios that's going to be coming to you. Okay? That is a basic word of indoctrination. I consider the word that I like to use as well is engineering, social engineering. Music as well is a social engineering tool. When you turn your back on the river, you understand, when you wake up, that river is going to be around your calves. These are things that your ancestors and your grandparents have taught y'all since the beginning of time. But we are so self-absorbed, so stuck on ourselves, we can't comprehend, because we don't love our children. We only love ourselves. Once you have a child, that is your responsibility and your goal. And not even for that moment, but for tomorrow for that child. But we always make excuses. Well, you're never a parent, Morpheus, so how would you know? Okay. Like I said, I'm getting ready to go in it. Let's stop right there for a moment, because I got to go from one subject to let me tell you a little bit of something about my history. All right. Are people who like to say that you're not a parent, so what would you know? Okay, I'm gonna put a sock in your mouth in a moment. Excuse me. I'm gonna put reality in your mouth. All right. I'm gonna tell you something. First of all, have a seat again, because I'm getting hyped up myself. Okay. So I got to piper myself down just a little bit. Listen to what I am saying. Oftentimes, those who are looking outside of the box, okay, they are able to see our four squares. Those who are looking from the inside to the outside of the box cannot actually see what the box look like. You take that and you put that in your lexicon and you concentrate on that for a while and put in your colleges. Okay, So you can stop the argument right there. And let me continue on. And again, that actually goes to a lot of situations. Oftentimes you hear people say, well, you don't know because you're not in it. Well, oftentimes that customer or person who's looking outside of your business or building, they're looking at you. They're not seeing, they may not see all the details and the creps and crevices. They're looking at how it functions. And usually at the end of the day, it's how it functions, how it is operating. But in this particular situation, let me give you a little detail then since just in case you try to argue from a point of ignorance, of not knowing. In the past, some of the girlfriends that I have dated had babysitting jobs. Okay. And often they babysitted children for a long time, whereas even I myself being with them was also responsible for these kids. All right. The age ranges was from they were toddlers to babies and strollers to 16-year-olds. OK, oftentimes I had to spend money myself on them as if they were my very own kids, because I care about kids and I care about people. I did not mind spending money on a child that was not mine, because what I tell you before, to me, one life is every life. OK, just because that's not your child, that doesn't mean you don't need to take care of that child, because I practice compassion. Compassion is what we need here in America. And we lost that because everybody's self-servant and selfish on a general basis. Oftentimes, the children would share things with me that they wouldn't share with their parents, because their parents was too hard-heavy. They were too heavy-handed. They've stricken too much fear in the child's mind, so the child clams up. The child doesn't express their feelings, and sometimes you'll be surprised. You will be surprised, my American people, that your child that you have now, whether they're 16, 17, 18, and even 8 years old to 7 years old, you think you know them. You really think you do. Okay? But when you are heavy-handed with your children, when you overstimulate your justice in the house, okay, you do more damage to that child than you do good. I always use this expression like a broomstick. Okay, when you're doing over restriction, when you're holding too tight to that child like a broomstick, and you hold it with an iron grip, eventually that broomstick's going to break. And oftentimes, these broken children become broken adults because of you. You understand? And they're 35 years old and alcoholic and don't know why. You know, she's 32 years old and all she want to do is donkey dunk and showboat herself on Instagram because of who? You. Okay. Oftentimes we like to point our fingers. Oh, you know, she's just loose, or, oh, you know, he just have well, he's a grown adult and he can make wise decisions on his own. He said, no, stop that. The fruit do not fall too far from the tree. Didn't I just tell you that? Always trying to get away from excuses. Don't you understand the root of the issue is usually what have created the issue itself? So you got to go back to the root. Just like being around the hospital situation, or should I say in the health field. OK, I told you I was in the health field. I do not concern myself with the symptoms. OK, the symptoms don't mean a thing to me. You can be standing there bleeding. Your nose could be you can have mucus all on your nose and your eyes are twitching. OK, I'm going to figure out what the root of the problem is. What is causing this to happen to you where I can stop it? The symptoms will be taken care of later. Too many times here in America, and for some of you practices that I'm not going to say, you love to deal with the symptoms because you want the problem to continue. If we're only dealing with the symptoms of our issues of the children, the problems would never be solved, because the root of it is mommy and daddy, or what they put their children through. You understand? So I was able to learn and study multiple ranges of personalities and how these things are operating out of the mouth of the children themselves. So if you say that Morpheus hasn't been there, Morpheus don't know what he's talking about, trust me, I have dealt with a 2-year-old teething baby that you have to wake up seemingly almost every 5 minutes when you try to lay down, but it was every half hour or so. Okay, teething and crying, and the baby, for some of you may say, would never shut up. Okay, yeah, the baby would never stop crying. Okay, to me, it wasn't too frustrating, but I can comprehend having that on a constant basis because I can deal with that. I understood the baby for being a baby. The baby had needs. Okay, and my tenacity being in martial arts training, I was able to have self-discipline and calm in the situation. All right, where I didn't lose my mind. I didn't need a cup of wine or alcohol. Okay, I didn't need to run out the house and start screaming. All right, and I didn't need to say, well, you know, I can't babysit this child. I can't be with this child no more. No more babysitting. I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. No, I just simply dealt with it. So I know how tough it is. I know how tough it is when the child is growing out of their clothes. You got to keep buying them clothes. I know about the 12-year-olds and their attitudes, and they thinking that they're grown and they want a sense of self, and their emotions are running wild, especially if they're a male boy. Okay, and they're shy and they're nervous around school. I've been there and I've done that. Okay, I have been gifted with the freedom of being able to study and learn by everybody else's experiences. I never needed to sign a contract in order to label myself down to experience those things, which I'm trying to help some of you gentlemen that I'm going to get to maybe in the third series of this audio. I'm going to get to it. Look like it's going to be a third because I have to get this information out to you. So I'm going to take my time with you and give you a third. I didn't want to do it, but it seemed like it's going to have to be because I need to walk y'all through this. Okay, yes, there are men and women who do not have kids. Okay, it is a possibility based on their lifestyle. And most likely some may say, oh, you're unfortunate. No. Step back. It depends on what that individual is doing with their time. Most times it's best to sit back and watch everybody else to see what they are doing. You understand? So therefore, when it comes to raising kids, okay, I've been in the thicket of it. All right. And I'm going to get to several stories for you, my American people, that's going to enlighten you a little further. So on that aspiration, sometimes you do, if you're speaking to someone and you tell them that you don't know because you're not a parent, be careful not to say that. Be careful to think about what you say, because you'll become the average person that's saying, well, you don't know my struggles. You don't know my problems. You don't know what I've been through. You'll be surprised how many people know what you're going through. You'll be surprised how many people can analyze your problem just by looking at you. And you think that you know everything about your own problems. So this is another wise word. It's a wise word, not the guidance of life, a wise word from your Bible that says, do not judge because you do not know. In my audios, I'm not judging you. I am helping you, and I am giving you advanced advice in the red pill. So if you feel like it's judging, somewhere along the line, you're probably just doing wrong, and you want to get comfortable in doing your wrong, or you want to be comfortable with your blue pill. You want to be that guy in the Matrix. I can't think of what his name was. I should know him very personally since I am Morpheus. You want to be that guy who was given an ultimatum by Agent Smith. Agent Smith wanted some information from that gentleman, and he told him, he said, listen, I need something from you, Mr. So-and-so. I want information to get into, I think it was Zion or something like that. So if you rat out Morpheus and his team, if you rat out Neo and his team, I'll give you the option to leave this realistic world, and I'll give you this blue pill, and you pretend like nothing has ever happened. I will program the machine world to give you all the houses and all the money and the land that you want. But should you not choose, then you will just stay here in this shambled reality. So, of course, you know, a lot of you rather take the blue pill and go right back to the imaginary world. Reality is ugly, American people. You not understand. When you wipe away all the thick paint and color from some of these so-called women or models, okay, take all that face paint off you will realize she has been that average girl that has been in front of you your entire life. Men, to give you an example, oftentimes you're looking for that babe. You're looking for that hot pot female. You're looking for that girl that looks like a supermodel. You're looking for that woman that you see in front of a Playboy magazine. Let me give you an awakening. That girl is always here. You didn't know that. She's working with you every day on the job. She's at the grocery store with strolling a child looking at you in your face. She's that checkout line girl with all the braids and pumpy pimple face. Okay? You know, she's that 250 pounder, okay, that's behind you on a busy freeway that's tailgating you, trying to get you to go faster, and you're already at least 10 to 20 miles above the speed limit. Okay, she's the one that's cutting you off in a traffic light. You understand? She's the one who is always, she's the one, probably even in daycare. You never know. You're dropping your kids off there and she's standing right there. But you don't notice her. Why? She don't have her face paint on. That is the matrix. That is the reality in front of you right there that's wiped away. The imagination is gone. Okay? But once she dons her face mask, once she put on all these plastics, once she transform her her attire, okay, and start skimping down and tightening things up and putting lace bandages, as I like to call them, to hold things together, then she'll be that imaginary woman that you want her to be. Then, of course, you can have all the matrix that you want. You can have an illusion until the law falls down. So some of you need to keep your eyes open that the truth is never easy. The truth is always harsh. I won't say always. Most times it is. It is very uncomfortable, and a lot of people drink to get away with it. A lot of people dive into drugs to get away with it. It makes people change their lives, and most people aren't ready for change because they're comfortable being unaccountable and being unresponsible to think deeper than what is programmed for them to think. Now, I'm going to talk about something for the gentleman, and I think that I'm going to go ahead and put this on the third series, because I'm done with the second series here, since there is more to be had. There is more to be had. So, with all due diligence, go ahead and meet me in the third audio, and hopefully I will be able to wrap this up for you as you are sitting here in the seat in front of me, listening to my voice and taking this red pill, to where you will learn something today. You are going to learn something from this. You are going to see things a little bit differently. Even if you don't agree with what I say, it's still going to open up your eyes, and it's going to make you think. It's going to make you tell yourself, maybe I need to be a little more skeptical at this. Yes, you do. Bear with me, and more answers and questions will be delivered in the second. Leon C., aka Morpheus, delivering a wonderful killer red pill, one sniblet at a time.